Alright, welcome back everybody to Only Divergences. Here we focus only on technical analysis, and more importantly, those beautiful divergent patterns which can produce massive returns. So before we start, as always, a big special thank you to those who like this video, watch my video, and to those who subscribe. It means a lot more than you think just clicking that little button, and I do appreciate that. I'm going to be here with you as we navigate these markets, and all I ask is that you keep me accountable and join me. Okay, so today we're taking a quick look at Cameco. We're just going to update this stock. I first initiated, I guess you can call it initiating coverage on this stock about 10 days ago, I believe. And Cameco was really making a lot of noise back then. The stock had, I'm on the monthly here, but let's just go down to the daily. Sorry, that's the weekly. Let's go to the daily. The stock had exploded really from 1534 all the way up. So this was a Friday and this was the Monday. So I posted a video on the weekend prior to this talking about the longer term and shorter term potential for the stock. Take a look at that video because what I've outlined has played out almost perfectly. I have to say, I'm sorry, but we tagged the trend line resistance that I was talking about perfectly, and we've come down since. Now I thought that there might be a little more of a bounce, not a tradable bounce, I'll say, but still somewhat of a bounce. Unfortunately, we've moved a little lower. With that said, let's take a look at the monthly because that's what really started this. We can see that we've got this huge wedge. Let me just draw this here. I guess you can draw it here. Unfortunately, there's really only two tags of this line, right? 1, 2 before we got down here, so it's not the strongest trend line. Right, you want more than 2 tags. In fact, 2 tags is not a trend. 2 tags is the line, right? A trend is once you get 3 tags. So while this is a strong longer-term breakout, we have to be careful and measure our expectations. And that's one of the things I talked about in the previous video, especially short-term expectations, right? We're living in a trader's market, right? So we have to act accordingly. So I did talk about this breakout, this potential breakout, and we can see that, if you want to be you could make the argument, if you pull it back up here, you could make the argument that we had this wedge, right? And then as soon as we broke out above it, that was a nice breakout, but then we had a pullback, and then we got that nice huge move, and that actually aligns perfectly with that trend line. But I also pointed out this really large bullish divergence that we saw here, which does suggest higher prices to come, right? Longer term. Now that said, given the volatility that we've seen recently, I think that we should expect volatility. But this really depends on whether you're a long-term investor or whether you're a trader. I'm talking to the traders here. If you're a long-term investor, I think you're fine. I mean, this is a breakout. I don't know about the fundamentals. I don't care about the fundamentals. I'm trained in fundamentals, but the only thing I know is that they don't work as well as the technicals do. So this is the monthly setup, and here it does suggest that there's a lot of room up here for the stock to run, basically, right? But this is 2022, 2023, 2024, right? So we're talking years in the future now. So if you've got your understanding of Cameco and uranium and what's going on with the price movements, and you've got a fundamentals view, and you've got a long time frame, then I think you're going to do pretty well. But I'm only talking about the traders in this one. I'm talking about the people who want to make 400% off options. Go take a look at my Robinhood video. I'm going to put a link in the description, but also on the top right here with regards to what I'm looking for. Because you don't have to wait 3, 4, 5 years if you know what you're doing. Okay, so this is the monthly chart. Let's go down to the weekly. And yeah, you can even see this trend line even clearer on the weekly here, that it comes all the way down here. But what I pointed out in that previous video was that we had what looked like upside resistance here, right? So we had this upside resistance trend line, which had tag. This active, yes, it broke through it a little bit, but you have to, again, trend line drawing is an art, not a science, and you have to use your discretion when you are making these analyses, right? So what we had is we gapped higher last week, and we hit that level, and we've come down ever since, right? So where are we now? Well, we're not really too oversold. In fact, we're not oversold on the weekly. What we are on the weekly is we had a nice move higher. This was very thin, very high. This isn't a trend line. This is a pop, right? This is an impulsive move. And when impulsive moves reach resistance, they pull back impulsively as well. Now, that doesn't mean that we're not going to see buyers here. In fact, I think we are going to see buyers, and the reason why is, let me just draw that trend line here. Well, we're now just a bit below. Again, exercise your discretion. We're just a bit below this previous high here. And even if we want to move this a little bit down here to where we came up here to where there's clearly more buyers who had come into this area, then that could be sort of a move. But we have to manage expectations. And the reason why is because, again, I pointed out that this move here was a, let's move down to the daily because I can show it to you better there. But that move there was a strong bullish divergence. If you've subscribed to my channel, you know what that is. You have price here, you have a price low, you have a second subsequent price low that's either equal or lower, and then you have a momentum low and a subsequent momentum low that's higher than the previous momentum low, which indicates momentum is shifting. Shifting from where? Well, from the downtrend that the stock was in since mid-June until September. And so what happened, you had a big move up here. Pay attention to the average true range. You can see we were coming down and compressing, and what happened? Well, we had a nice release. That's exactly what you would expect. And then, as I said in my previous video, we came down here. I thought we would get a bit of a bounce here, but we didn't. We're still consolidating. Actually, we're not consolidating. We broke this very thin impulsive trend line, and we've come down here. So right now, I think one would be hoping for a move higher. But I really do have to emphasize that one of the things you want to do is you don't want to look at a chart and try to guess if it's going to go up or down. You want to look at a chart and say that is forming a pattern that in the very near term could provide very good returns, right? And I think that that's what happened here. That's why we had this big move up here. And I don't like shorting stocks, but this one, this definitely had some good returns from the top here had you shorted it. I didn't. So the question is, what can we expect? Well, without a strong trend or without a nice setup, all we can really expect is some smaller moves on the lower levels, right? So the biggest level that I'm going to look at, the monthly, shows that we've broken out and that we could have some movement up here, right? But again, this is years and years and years. Look down here, 2024, 2026. That's what you're going to be waiting for, right? And look at where my mouse is. That's $40. That means you're going to be doubling your money in maybe 2 years, maybe 4 years, right? As a reasonable expectation. Now, that doesn't mean that Cameco is not going to jump up to 60, in a year or two, right? But I'm just talking about general probabilities. There are 10,000 stocks out there that you can choose from. You want to buy the one that is most optimal at this moment. So, what can we expect? Well, again, we take a look at the monthly, which shows the overall context. Weekly, get a bit of a better context. Daily, we can see that this does not look good. And so we come down to the hourly. We don't really have divergence here, but we're at the 200 period moving average. We can see we held here, but the bounces were faded, right? And what's happening to the 200 period moving average right now? Well, it's starting to flatten out. And what happens after a 200 period moving average flattens out? Let's take a look at the last time it flattened out after it was moving higher. It moves higher, flattens out, oops, let's move back, moves higher, flattens out, and then falls. Now that doesn't always happen, as you can clearly see. Here we had it move higher, flattened out, came back, and then it moved higher. Are the circumstances the same here? It's tough to say. What I can say is that I'm not going to be buying Cameco tomorrow, or the day after tomorrow, or next week with both fists. I'm not going to be. The easy money was made here, unfortunately. That's where the easy money was made. Cameco can move higher given the technicals that I've outlined, but do not expect easy money. I hope that didn't ruffle too many feathers. I'm trying to be on your side. I'm trying to protect you, and I'm trying to show you why I believe that this can help with protecting you. And so if you appreciate that, you've watched to the end, like this video, subscribe, and I'm going to be updating this probably in 2 weeks. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.